Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the North Fair Oaks Community Council meeting for October 26, 2017. Victor, if you could take roll, please.
Of course. Chair Everardo Rodriguez.
Here.
Vice Chair Beatriz Cerrillo.
Here.
Councilmember Melinda Dubroff. Councilmember Rosario Gonzalez. Councilmember Linda Lopez.
Here.
Councilmember Rosario Lopez.
Here.
Councilmember Mary Martinez. And Youth Member Yesenia Mendez.
Here.
Thank you, Victor. We will have public comment at this point. If anybody has a public comment, you would need to fill out one of these slips, which will be handed to you by Maggie by the entrance. And you only get 2 minutes, so please try to be brief. And we will start public comment. Do we want to start?
Sure.
We will have a short report by Joe Lococo.
Under public comment?
Good evening, Joe Lococo with the Department of Public Works. I have a couple things I want to hand out real quickly. Last month, I mentioned to you that we had a parking limitation restriction on Middlefield Road that was set to go before the board on November 21. So I just wanted to remind you of that particular item coming forward. It's in front of El Paisano restaurant on Middlefield Road near Dumbarton. It's a pretty straightforward proposal. There is angled parking. They have 2 slots in front of their business that is currently marked as a loading zone, and they've asked that that be made into a 2-hour parking zone, similar to the parking pretty much all up and down the corridor. So again, we're presenting this to the board, planning to present it on November 21. The last time we spoke, we had talked about had the notifications going out. We haven't received any objections to it. The proposal is as drafted and requested by the property owner. With that, I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Rafael Avendaño.
Good afternoon, Council. It's great to see you all. Thank you for all the work you've been doing in our community, as well as Deputy Manager and NFL Forward. I come today to invite you all next Friday at Siena Youth Center. We're going to be having a Dia de los Muertos celebration, skull candy, music, food, and good time celebrating our rich culture here in North Fair Oaks. I also came to give you an update about a really exciting grant opportunity that the Siena Youth Center Trips for Kids Bulldog Riders were able to receive from the County of San Mateo with collaboration of Silicon Valley Bike Coalition. We will be having a ton of community events and really expanding our network of bicycling in our community with the support of Silicon Valley Bike Coalition for the next 2 years. So thank you for believing in the Bulldog Riders. I'd like to thank Warren Slocum as well, our supervisor of the county, for just instilling that faith in the Bulldog Riders to really be the youth group and adult group of bikers in this community that is pushing forward access and opportunities to green space for our youth and for our families. So I thought I'd let you all know that it started with the little group of youth coming in here in these meetings asking for, safe routes, and we're still going to keep coming, and more green space, but now it's turning into this whole thing being supported by the county. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Rafael. Great seeing you. Next, we have Emily Tapia.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. I am Erin, and this is Emily. We are here to invite you guys to a community march. We're doing this for the rights of our people because I think this is a little bit unfair that like people are getting evicted from their houses. So I would like to invite you guys to the march. It's on November 17, 2017. And it's at 5 p.m. at the Siena Youth Center. And I would like to invite you guys to the march so we could have rights in our community and to make an impact in our community, to make people want to fight for this cause. So I'm just inviting you guys to fight and help us with this problem in the city and the peninsula. Thank you.
Thank you. Quick question. What was the time of the march?
Huh?
Did you say the time?
Oh, yeah. It's 5 p.m.
5 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Is this on?
Next. Oh, I guess that was Aaron Gomez. Is that him? Okay. So Aaron and Emily were together. Okay. Justin? Is that correct? Am I reading right?
Juventino?
Oh, Juventino? Okay, sorry.
Hello, good afternoon. Today I was going to talk about the illegal dumping because there's a cause that's like people are dumping in front of our garden beds in the community. They're like throwing trash in front of it, such as like computers, beds, wood, something like that, like trash. And I wanted to talk to you guys so we can make like some sort of signs in front of it saying like if they would like stop throwing trash down there and so they can like respect our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can we get the address
The address?
or location?
Redwood City. Yeah.
Okay.
Is it around the Siena Youth Center?
Across the street from St. Clair Apartments.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Rafa.
Next we have, thank you, Juventino. Next we have Maria Martinez.
Hi, my name is Maria Martinez. Thank you for being here tonight. I'm also in behalf of Siena Youth Center. I'm here to invite you guys all to the community law night. As you in the council may have a paper, the community can get a paper at that green table over there. It's basically a lawyer is going to be coming to Siena Youth Center and answering any questions the community may have regarding legal status, things they want to talk about, just anything. And it's free, so you guys should come. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No, but I'd like to add there's going to be over 50 pro bono attorneys. So it's going to be a very, very great opportunity for people. Thank you so much, Maria.
I hope you're leaving some flyers behind your, and maybe the library too. Thanks. Next, we'll have Jennifer Wong.
Good evening, council and community members. My name is Jennifer Wong. I work with Palo Alto Housing. We're a local nonprofit affordable housing developer. We have an upcoming project right here in North Fair Oaks, and we'll be holding an information session in 2 weeks on Thursday, November 9th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. right here at the Fair Oaks Community Center. So I just wanted to invite everybody to come, attend, and find out more about our project. Thank you.
Thank you. And did we get a flyer for that? No.
That's it.
Thank you. Next, we have a Swearing Youth member.
You can, sure, you can stand right here. I just ask you to repeat after me and raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Yesenia Mendez,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the state of California
and the state of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of California,
and the Constitution of the state of California,
that I will take this obligation freely
that I will take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations and welcome.
Welcome, Yesenia.
You're official.
We'll have the report of the Highway Patrol by Officer Art Montiel.
All right. Good evening. My name is Art Montiel. I'm the Public Information Officer for the CHP here in Redwood City, and I am pretty much in charge of the community outreach and talking to the media and all the fun stuff. So I guess my presentation today is going to be about what the CHP does in the North Fair Oaks area. We have events that we serve the community with. Some of those events are with the Sienna Youth Center. Some are car seat events and things like that. Normally, our captain comes and does these presentations. He was unable to come today, so he sent me. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the 3 different departments that handle Redwood City. Are you guys familiar with that? No? So the CHP handles pretty much anything that happens on the highways, right? And also handles all the vehicle violations that happen on the unincorporated San Mateo County, which will be in the area that we're in. The sheriff will handle any penal code violations such as domestic violence, robberies, all of that in the unincorporated San Mateo County, but the CHP will step in for any DUIs or crashes that happen in this county. And the local police, which will be Redwood City PD, will handle both penal code and vehicle code violations that happen within the city of Redwood City, which is actually incorporated. For those of you that don't know how to tell the difference, some of us that are a little bit older than you, we grew up with the Thomas Guide. If you guys open a Thomas Guide, that actually has the divisions, and any cities that are incorporated into a city, they have a different color, and whatever's unincorporated will be a light yellow. So that's the easiest way to figure it out. The light yellow will be the CHP, and the sheriff will handle that area. So other than that, I'm here to pretty much answer any questions you may have. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Do any council members have questions?
Thank you, Officer Montiel. So you're going to be coming every other month now? We haven't seen the Highway Patrol for quite a while, so are we going to be on track with regular reports every other month?
Correct. So the last person that used to come to these meetings was Captain Maskeridge. He retired back in July of 2016.
Oh, wow.
Our new captain came in, and he wasn't aware of the meeting, so when we got notification of the meeting, Captain was going to be out of town, but he asked me to come, so he will most likely come to the to all the other meetings from now on, either himself or myself.
I would just ask that you, when you report, that we get some information on what it's looking like in North Fair Oaks from Highway Patrol perspective. That's pretty much what we're also getting from the Sheriff's Department. So we get a picture from law enforcement what's going on.
In terms of law
In
enforcement
terms
collisions?
of violations,
Okay.
DUIs. Whatever violations or infractions you work on. And I did have a specific question. I know the policy of the Sheriff's Department in regards to immigration, in regards to ICE. What is the policy with Highway Patrol?
Same thing.
Oh, same, okay.
We actually came to one of the immigration forums in March, I believe, and we pretty much just had the same stand. We do not cooperate with the federal government. We basically were here to serve the community. All the reports that there have been that law enforcement helps ICE or immigration, that's untrue. We do not have anything to do with the federal government. So we're the state police.
Thank you.
So you guys, so the Highway Patrol doesn't handle parking violations, right?
Correct.
Okay, that's the Sheriff's Department.
That's correct.
Beatrice, any question? Are there any questions from the public? Thank you, Officer
Great.
Montiel.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Very nice seeing you. Next, we will have an update on the county's accessory dwelling unit ordinance by Will Gibson from Planning and Building Department.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for having me here. I am Will Gibson from the Planning and Building Department, and it's nice to be before you. I haven't been before the council for some time, and it used to be with a great deal of frequency, so it is nice to be back in front of you. As the chair said, I'm here to give you a brief requested updates on the county's revised second unit regulations, which were updated in January of this year. And it will be just the high points very briefly, and then I'll be able to take any questions that you may have. I'm going to start with just a little context on second units in general, the benefits of them, and the impetus for this update, and then touch on the key standards in the regulations and the changes, and then again answer any questions that the council may have. So second units are also known as accessory dwelling units, ADUs, granny units, in-law units, a number of other names. And typically they are units that are built on a parcel, a property that already has a main unit on it. Typically they're significantly smaller than the main house, and they may be within that house, they may be attached to it, a detached new structure built within a converted garage, an accessory building, or in any other configuration, as long as they're an independent, discrete unit that is built on a parcel that has another unit on it already. The benefits of second units, typically because they are built in areas that are already developed with existing infrastructure, and because of their size, they're cheaper both to construct and more affordable to occupy for the residents. They can offer a homeowner a chance to get extra income by renting out the unit. They can offer housing for extended family members, for adults who are aging in place, for grown children who are coming back into the housing market and can't afford to get on their feet immediately, and to any other residents who need additional housing that is smaller and more affordable than a standard housing type. Again, because they are in existing developed areas with infrastructure, they tend to be more environmentally efficient and sustainable. And they are, compared to new greenfield development or new multifamily development in a neighborhood, significantly less obtrusive than other forms of residential construction. So San Mateo County has had a second unit ordinance in place since 1984, and that ordinance regulates the size of second units, the placement of second units on a property, the bulk, how close they can be to other parcels, and a number of other standards. And those standards are uniform across every zoning district in which second units are allowed. So essentially, if you're building a second unit, you're subject to the second unit regulations, regardless of what the underlying zoning district and the standards in that zoning district are. And those regulations adopted in 1984 have been continuously in place since that time, but the state of California also has a set of second unit regulations which change periodically, and those mandate certain changes that the county must make, and the state's regulations supersede our own. So in many cases, our ordinance has been superseded, and to date, what we've been doing is where our ordinance still applies, we've applied that, and in cases where it did not, we've defaulted to the state's regulations. But as of January of this year, we've done a comprehensive update. We're now completely consistent with the state's standards. And that brings us to the purpose of the revisions. The primary purpose of these revisions was to meet all of the standards that the state has newly adopted that are mandated on us. But secondarily, the purpose was to meet the county's housing needs and housing goals. As the council is aware, San Mateo County is experiencing a dramatic housing crisis, as well as the greater Bay Area. Second units are a source of affordable housing, and the Board of Supervisors, including Supervisor Slocum specifically, have made it a priority to incentivize and facilitate second units as one strategy among many to try to meet that housing need. So that was another purpose of our update to the regulations. And finally, we just took the opportunity, because our regulations over time had become piecemeal and a little bit confusing, just to clean them up and to try to make them more readable, more usable, both for the planners who have to apply them and for the applicants who are trying to create second units. So turning to the regulations, second units are allowed in various zoning districts listed here: R1, R2, RE, RH, RM, and TPZ. There are only two of those in North Fair Oaks, so R1 and R2, and those are represented by the green areas here. So what that means is that on any parcel that is of sufficient size to fit a second unit under the regulations, they could be built on any of the parcels here shown in green if it doesn't already have a second unit on it. And that goes to the point that in addition to being allowed in these zoning districts, you are only allowed one second unit per parcel, regardless of the type of unit that's already on it. So for instance, in R2 zones in North Fair Oaks, you can build a duplex, but you could still only build one second unit in addition to that duplex. You never get two or three or more second units. It's just the one. So some other key changes to the regulations. The maximum floor area is the greater of 750 square feet, or 35% of the floor area of the house that's already on the lot, whichever is greater. And the absolute maximum size of a second unit is 1,200 square feet. The maximum height is 26 feet. That's new. There was not previously a maximum height for second units. We've adopted a uniform height limit across all districts. The new setbacks in the rear and side are 5 feet for single-story second units, and for a multi-story second unit greater than 16 feet, the new setbacks are 10 feet. And we've also placed some limits on where balconies, decks, and windows can be placed to protect the privacy of adjacent properties and homeowners. There are new parking standards. So a second unit is now required to have one parking space for a 1 or 2 bedroom second unit, and 2 parking spaces for a 3 bedroom second unit. And that's actually a slight increase. The old regulations just required 1 for any size of second unit. So for larger second units, should anyone create a 3 bedroom second unit, they are required to provide slightly more parking. That parking may be provided in tandem. It may use up to 1,600 feet of the front setback. And it may also be uncovered, and the parking spaces can be compact spaces. And in addition, there are a couple of provisions that are directly mandated by state law, which we've adopted in an ordinance simply because we were required to. If the unit is within proximity to a transit stop or a car share location, no extra parking is required for the second unit. And if it's in a reconstructed garage, no parking is additional parking is required as well. Also, discretionary review, and this is a pretty important change, which was already in state law, but we had not codified until now. Discretionary review is eliminated, and what that means is for a second unit that meets all the standards in the new regulations, there's no public hearing required, no public noticing is done. The standards by which we judge it must be essentially the same as a simple building permit, only objective standards. And units that meet all those standards, crucially, will not go before the North Fair Oaks Community Council. They'll be treated as a simple permit. But that is already the case now. As I said, the state had already adopted that regulation, and we've been following throughout. So you won't stop seeing permits that you would already have seen. These permits already would not have come before you. And second units that do not meet the regulations and are asking for an exception could still come before a public hearing body. And with that, those are the basic regulations. There were some other minor changes, some text cleanup in the regulations just to make it easier, some things that had long ago been superseded that we removed, but those are the most important standards and changes to the regulations. With that, that concludes my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. Do council members have any questions?
These regulations are for new buildings, not for those that are existing, like say, garages that have already, been built.
So they apply to new buildings, but if someone was attempting to legalize a second unit that had already been created but was unpermitted, these standards would also apply in that case.
Oh.
So in order to legalize it, they would have to meet the standards in the new regulations.
Oh.
Any questions? I do have a couple of questions.
Sure.
So this, I suppose this also applies for people who have bought properties and that those properties came already with second units that were not legalized.
Correct. They also apply. So because the standards do relax some of the setback requirements and some of the parking requirements, it would be easier to legalize a unit that was created without meeting those. But again, they would be subject to all the regulations regardless of how they bought it and regardless of the status of how it was created. If it was unpermitted and they bought an unpermitted unit, it's still contingent on, or it's still the responsibility of the property owner to upgrade it to meet the standards.
Okay. Now, we have heard here at the council a couple of people asking about these regulations, and I'm wondering if there will be, because some of these people are elderly people who own their houses, and either they built an illegal unit or they were in the process, and so I'm wondering if there is any financial assistance or what are the fees, to make one of these additional units regular?
To bring it up to the standards. So the yes and no. There's no financial assistance available immediately, but we are exploring a program which would be a form of what we call amnesty, which means that if you have an illegal second unit that's not up to health and safety standards, we intend to go before the board at the end of November or in December with this proposal, and this is at the direction of the board. This was one of the board's affordable housing initiatives to try to bring up the standards of some of the existing illegal units. One of the things will be that if you come in within a certain window of time with a unit and apply for assistance, both in renovating it, and in trying to determine whether it's even feasible to renovate it, we will not take that as an opportunity to do code enforcement action. There'll be what you might call a firewall between them coming in and applying and our code enforcement division. So they'll be able to come in an anonymized fashion and see if they can participate in this program. And through that, there will be some forms of rehabilitation loans from our housing department available. But again, that's a program that's in the fledgling stages. We haven't finalized it, nor do we have board approval for the specifics of it as yet. So we are looking for that program to begin somewhere in February or March of next year, if all goes well. And it will also include fee waivers of the normal fees that would be required for permitting, and it will waive the penalty fees, which would normally be required for unpermitted construction. Because typically, if you've built a unit, we would penalize you and or make you remove it. So it will sidestep some of those provisions and also offer assistance as well.
Thank you. And what about people who are considering adding a second story to their, does that count as?
No, a second story alone, unless it's a discrete unit with separate entrance and exit and is completely
That's
isolated,
part of the
that's
same
a separate
structure.
It's just part of the structure.
Correct. Any other questions?
No.
Well, thanks very much for your
Thank you.
presentation. Do we have any public comment about this particular issue? Okay. We will move on to item number 6, Beals Martin Development. There will be an informational presentation on housing project in North Fair Oaks by Alim Beals.
John's going to have when the time comes. Good evening, Council. Thank you for the opportunity to introduce you to our proposed project. My name is Alan Beals. I'm President and CEO of Beals Martin. We are general contractors, developers, and property managers, and our office has been located at the corner of Bay Road and Douglas for over 40 years. We manage the property in question. The address is 2949 Edison Way, and that's the corner of Edison and 2nd Avenue. And I am the managing partner of the property's ownership group. We purchased the property in 2003. Before that, it was the Hubbard Structures Lumberyard, and during our ownership, it has served as vehicle storage for a variety of local businesses. And speaking of local, the property's ownership group is made up of local residents, with the majority of them living in Redwood City. Also, my wife in the audience, Danny Gasparini, is a former mayor of Redwood City, and I moved to town in 1949. That's true. And also, over 1/3 of Beals Martin's development projects through the years are located in North Fair Oaks. A few years ago, we began receiving interest in our property from apartment developers, but we thought instead of selling our land to an outside group, we'd develop the project ourselves in a neighborhood that we're such a large part of. We feel our architects, BDE, that have drawn several projects in Redwood City, have come up with an excellent design, one that North Fair Oaks truly deserves. So I'd like to call up John Ennis, principal with BDE, to present our project to you. Thank you.
I moved to the Bay Area in 1996. It's a real pleasure to be here. I wanted to say to the kids before they left, it's great to have the youth here. I think it's great that you have so many people come out. I mean, they have homework, they have sports, they have chores to do, and yet they have time to come out. I think that's really great. So we have been involved quite a bit. Our firm specializes in multifamily housing, affordable and market rate, all around the Bay Area, from Petaluma to Gilroy to East Bay. And it's really all we do. We pretty much do residential projects. We've done many of the 4 projects in downtown Redwood City, and we've had great success there, and it was great to meet Alan and his team. So here I'm just going to describe a little bit of, you can see the site here, it's in yellow. You can see, just to orient you, 101's up here, here's El Camino. So the site is pretty well placed for some walkability to different things, and also quite a few jobs, so we're excited about the opportunity to put housing here. Just zooming in, These are photos from the site, so it's not a very developed site right now. It's kind of underutilized. It's a kind of a trapezoidal shaped site here. There's commercial uses across the street, residential uses to the west, and then a kind of a yard type facility to the north with the rail line on one side. So when we look at a context like this, a lot of times we want to create the sides of the building that face the streets to have active uses, and the sides that are maybe facing railways and things like that to be inactive uses. So you'll see along these streets, we have apartments and the leasing office and things where people are coming in and out of the project and creating the activity and engaging with the neighbors and the activity in the neighborhood. And along the railway, we have less going on. This is just a little diagram showing the zoning for the site. So we're within this quarter-mile radius of a proposed multimodal transit hub. So one day, this might be more, take advantage of that multimodal transit. It'd be a transit-oriented development, which things should really be to get people out of their cars as much as possible. So this is just some data here. We prepared the slide. There's really no large trees on the site. There's not a lot of environmental impact. I don't know if it's technically a brownfield site, but it's the kind of thing where we like to put housing on it. We're not displacing any habitat. We're not displacing any animals or creatures. It's really just a perfect infill type site. So we're looking at, this shows you, we have a variety of unit types. We have studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and we're parked on this project at 1.57 parking spaces per unit. So we have a nice variety of sizes, and it's basically probably parked at about 1 space per bedroom, roughly. Just to give you an idea of that. That's a lot of numbers. So this roughly describes the project. It's called a 5/2 type project. It's 5-story of residential over a 2-story podium. So it's a wood building. The yellow is a wood building over a concrete structure. That's kind of describes the project as it stacks up. So you can see here, I was talking about we have along Edison Way, we have townhome units whose entrances would be directly onto the street with stoops. So kind of that activity and eyes on the street there. They would also have a back door in from the parking garage. You can see the parking garage here. And then we have a leasing office and a community room and some of the other lobby main entrance for the project. So it's really a lot of glass and active units along the streets, and along the railroad tracks, we have the garage. So as you drive by the project or walk by the project or experience it from the public rights of way, you really don't see the parking garage. We always try to hide that. It makes it it's a much more pleasant experience, and it's great for the neighborhood to have that. So these are some of the projects. You might recognize this one. This is on, it's on Veteran Street. It was one of the first projects that went through the Redwood City Downtown Precise Plan. The pawn shop is down here. I don't know if you know where that is, but this was a project. We're very excited about it. We've had a lot of people call up and ask, who did this project? We get a lot of calls, and we're very pleased with the outcome. It's kind of has some traditional massing to it. It kind of fits in. It's not super modern or contemporary, but it has a nice kind of mix of traditional and contemporary aesthetic. And these are just some of the other type projects that we have that represent, I think Alan and his team, they're looking for a very high quality project that fits in well and that's forward looking and will serve the community well and really be an improvement. So we're early on in the design phases now. This slide here shows along Edison Way, if you can remember that, 2-story townhomes with stoop entrances directly off the street. Here you can see kind of the whole base of the building is mostly all glass with a lot of eyes on the street, and then residential units above. I'll just kind of walk through the basic plans. There's an underground parking garage for a majority of the parking. This is the first floor plan. I already kind of walked through that one. As you go up the building, we have another level of parking hidden behind the second floor uses that face the street. And then as you get to the upper floors, we have elevated gardens. So this is a garden that faces to the north. Here's a pool deck. There'd be a pool up on here. This would be a community room. There would be fire pits and barbecues and places for the tenants to go and enjoy the outdoor landscape. In addition to having, I guess I didn't mention that, we do have outdoor space around the, a setback off the property line that has other outdoor spaces. We have a dog walk out in the back. That's very popular. Most tenants have pets now. And we also have a roof terrace up on top of the building. This is the landscape architect. There's a lot of team members. There's civil engineers, landscape engineers, all kinds of people working on the project, and I'm here to speak for them. So what you're looking at here is really a composite plan that shows the ground, the street trees, and the sidewalks. It shows a landscape setback that I just talked about with the dog park, and then the elevated decks. This is on the roof. This is down on the second floor. And just blowing these are kind of more detailed views of those parks. The expectation now, tenants really want to see, they want to have a really nice experience. We have a hot tub and a pool. It's really a gathering space. The apartments really cater to this lifestyle now, where it's more than just an apartment building. It kind of, there's a lot of amenities built into these, and they're very fantastic type spaces when they get finished. And just showing here that we would have outdoor spaces and barbecues and things like that. The terrace up on top is very popular now because it would have great views to the hills beyond and just be a great place to go at the end of the day at sunset and look at the hills. So that's really, we're here to answer any questions. I just didn't want to spend too long putting you guys to sleep talking about the building, but if you have any questions about anything, we can take some more time to go through the slides.
Thank you very much for your presentation. If council members have questions, please go ahead.
Do you have any slides of what it looks like now?
Oh, we do, as a matter of fact.
Can I see those, please?
Yes.
It's like
These are
I
the
just want to see the.
slides. So if you see these numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, correspond to these pictures. First one's on the bottom. So this looking at the corner of the site right here. Here you're looking at that. So this is the site. Photo number 2, kind of looking down 2nd Avenue. Here's 2nd Avenue. Here's the site here. And there's the commercial use across the street. Photo 3, it's kind of looking at it, looking down Edison Way back towards Redwood City. Here's the site. And photo 4, here you see the tracks are right here. 2nd Avenue's here, and here's the site. Does that help you?
Yes, thank you. Well, I'll go take a look later, but I just wanted to see what, in comparison. So where are you right now in the process?
Well, we've, how many months have we been working on the project? Many months. So it takes a while to, where we are in the process is we have a schematic design. So we know how many units are there. We basically have a massing for the project. We've met with planning a few times. And really what we're doing now is doing an outreach process, showing it to the community members and showing, getting feedback. And so the next would be a formal submittal. So
How are you conducting the outreach?
Well, this is step 1 of the outreach.
Oh, I mean in the neighborhood.
So this has been the first step of the outreach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we're
Okay.
at the first step 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many units?
What's the 161?
Wow. Okay. I have to say, there's something that we've kind of started. It's not written in stone, but it seems to be working with some of the new projects, looking at North Fair Oaks and wanting to come in and, construct and develop. And that's really having a dialogue with the surrounding neighborhood. And I think that this is great to do, of course, to do what you're doing with the larger group and with the council. But I think that, and you can ask for, we can give you assistance, but for such a huge project that is going to really transform the look, because I think you're across the street from a lot of single story.
That's right.
Pretty much single story residential.
On one side, on this side right here, yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's 2 homes here and 1 here, and then, yeah.
I mean, this to me is like a city within a city type. I mean, it's huge. But it may be in your interest, and it may be in our interest, that there be some dialogue with your development company and the surrounding neighborhood.
That makes a lot of sense.
And please not just leave it up to these larger forums. I think that's a good way to get the interest, to get the awareness out there, understanding, and for neighborhoods to buy into it, because it's just such a big project. But anyway, it's a suggestion that I'm giving you,
Makes a lot of sense. Thanks for that.
and we can certainly help set that up. Okay, thank you.
Please, yeah, Rosaura. Go ahead. If you can bring the mic a little closer.
So I think this big buildings is going to have a big impact in our community. What I recommend is to, to have a plan to do the outreach in the community. Also, don't forget and
Can you speak a little louder because they can't hear you for the translation.
They can't hear you.
Sorry. Now I'm okay? Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Just
Okay,
speak-
yeah. If you have any plan to do the outreach in the community, and also the language, just you wanna do the outreach. Do you have any plan right now, or?
I don't think we have a plan set in stone right now, but we're getting good feedback from you guys, and I think that's going to be the next step. So we'll work on that.
Yeah, because I think it's very important to do also in Spanish language.
For sure. Yeah.
Based in our community we have a lot of Spanish speakers.
We will do that.
The outreach for the neighborhood is really important. I think also for the ideas for vegetation, also to make sure that it blends. This is such a humongous, colossal project right in, kind of like in the middle of a very low-income area. The majority of, so you're close to high-density apartment rentals surrounding a little school. I work at the school. I know the area. And I feel that just having continued dialogue, there's a sports center, they have a room. It doesn't have to be big forums, but as long as there's outgoing dialogue, ongoing, that's very important. And also to give you options of also the type of building to make sure that if and when it is built, it will fit. I think we fear that it's going to be ultra modern, ultra big, and not fit. And so I think just having ongoing conversations with the people who will be impacted in that neighborhood is just really, really important.
And I do have a couple of questions. First one is, and perhaps this question can be answered by county planning. So the current zoning, if I understand correctly, might be light industrial. And I wonder if this zone is going to change to residential. I'm not sure.
Will, do you know how it's
Maybe-
currently zoned? Maybe you can answer that
maybe,
question.
Maybe Will can can tell.
Yeah, that's a very good question.
Yeah. So the question is the place for this particular project. If I understand correctly, Edison Way on one side is residential, and on the other side is light industrial.
It's light industrial, correct,
And
yes.
so they happen to be on the light industrial side.
That's correct.
And so, does that mean that that zoning area has changed or will be changing?
It hasn't changed. It will be included in the proposed future rezoning, which is related to the North Fair Oaks Community Plan. It's the next phase of that, which would start next year. However, they have multiple paths by which they could proceed. They could rezone the site. They could propose a rezoning of the site in advance of that, which is consistent with the future zoning, and I think probably that's their intent, but I'm not absolutely sure. It's a faster path than waiting for us to rezone it, and as long as it was consistent with that and the project within was consistent with the intent of that rezoning, we would tend to support it, but they could come in with what's called a planned unit development, which is a rezoning that's specific to that site and that project, and change it to that. So there is planned rezoning, which would be mixed-use residential and commercial for that area, but that's a ways off. So for the project to advance more quickly, probably their best option is just to proceed with a requested rezoning, which would go before you and the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors.
I see. Thank you. And then my other question was about the parking. As Beatrice was saying, this is a very high density area, and we currently have a lot of problems with parking, not only from residents' vehicles, but there's a lot of industrial, since this is a light industrial area, there's a lot of trucks that tend to circulate around that area specifically, and some are junkers that are abandoned, and some are just large vehicles that belong to somebody, somebody's roofing or gardening or something. So parking is an issue, and I hope that you are planning for that particular issue. So one of the comments you made was that you were planning on about 1.5 spaces
1.56 spaces per dwelling unit.
Okay, so but what would that mean in terms of cars?
The number of parking spaces is 353?
353, okay.
I have the numbers here.
353 spaces?
Mm-hmm.
For how many units?
For 161 units.
253 spaces.
Oh.
Which is, for example, the projects in Redwood City that we've been doing are parked anywhere from 1.1 to 1.3, which is 1.3 is about right. And so this is a higher parking ratio than any of our other projects currently on the peninsula. That would include where the Lobster Shack was. We're building one. Indigo, in downtown Redwood City, the Veterans, and the 299 Franklin over by on Franklin Street after you pass under the tracks. So this is compared to all those projects parked at a higher ratio than any of those. In acknowledgement, I think what you're saying is we want to have our tenants parking in our building, not on the street.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question, and perhaps this question could also be answered by somebody from county. It relates to affordable units within this particular project. Are there any affordable housing units for this project?
That's a great question. We have committed to doing affordability and using the state density bonus to provide on-site BMR units in the building. So that's definitely part of the plan. We're not sure of the exact numbers yet, but it would be a significant amount.
Great, thank you very much. Does anybody else have a...
Not now.
Okay. Thanks very much for
the presentation. Thanks for your feedback.
And thanks for coming.
No problem.
Are there any questions, comments from the public about this particular issue? It looks like not, so thank you. And we'll move on to the next item. We'll get an update on the Middlefield Road Small Business Development Pilot Program by Nicolas Calderon, Real Property Manager.
Good evening, Council. My name is Nicholas Calderon. I'm with the county's Real Property Services Division, and I had the fortunate privilege of drafting the Middlefield Road redesign construction mitigation plan. And when drafting the plan, the main intent that we kept was minimizing construction's impact on local businesses. To recap, about a year ago, I came and gave a brief presentation on what the plan was and what was included in it, and what we have maintained with that is a lot of what you'll see tonight. So when we were developing the plan, we had to first identify what are the impacts that we need to minimize or mitigate for, and you'll see a list here. A lot of it has to do with vehicle congestion, parking, dust, and access to the businesses, not just for patrons, but also for delivery trucks. So what we did was we designed a construction mitigation plan that has three parts. It's the pre-construction, the during construction, and then after construction. For tonight's presentation, the focus will really be on part one and part two, which is pre-construction and during construction. With that said, I'm happy to answer any questions that might pertain to part three as well. So pre-construction strategies really focus on two issues: communication and education. It's extremely important that there is inclusive communication leading up to construction. It's important that the businesses, that the community, that the customers all understand what the project's going to be, when the project's going to start, how long it's going to take, all of that. It's vital that everyone is on the same page. And so you'll see that there's a robust communication element to all of these strategies, including the distribution of a construction support kit, the surveys, and we have a project liaison as well. Now, with communication, it goes both ways. So it's not just important that the counties distributing information to the community and the businesses, but it's really important that we're also collecting it. It's important that we understand what the businesses are thinking, what their concerns are, what the customers are thinking, and what their concerns are. And so that's why we have a business and a patron survey that we propose in the first part here. You'll also see a county-hosted workshop series there, as well as parking strategies, which we'll discuss coming up here. So in May of this year, the county launched the Middlefield Road Business Development Pilot Program. The pilot program consisted of 11 Middlefield Road businesses, and the original thought was that we will partner with the San Mateo Small Business Development Center and the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights of the Bay Area. And with this partnership, we would be able to provide tools and resources to the businesses that allowed them to change their thought process and to understand new ways to conduct business. And the way we were going to do this is through a series of workshops. And our first two workshops were held here in this room. The first one was on the value of having a protective lease in place as a business, how to make sure that your lease protects you and allows you to operate in the manner in which you need to. The second workshop was a Business 101, talk about the fundamentals of small businesses. And at that point, we realized that we needed to change our approach. So instead of coming here and doing a workshop where we would have someone from the Small Business Development Center or the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights speak to the businesses, we went to a computer lab at the county, and we realized that the first step we needed to do is get the businesses online. We needed to make sure that they had websites that if you went onto Yelp and you searched, that they would come up. So what we did was we had 3 workshops at the county, and we got businesses Yelp accounts. We have businesses now that have websites. And after the workshops, many of the businesses are in a better position than they were before. They have a stronger online presence, which is really important in today's market. What we're also able to accomplish is getting the businesses to think different, which is how do we reach out to new customers? How do we satisfy our existing customers but then grow our base? And a lot of that has to do with being online. And so through this pilot program, we have seen that the businesses we've been working with have started to think in a different way, which is really important. We have one more workshop coming up, which will be a legal clinic. Businesses will be able to meet one-on-one with a pro bono attorney, and they will be able to talk about whatever issues they view as a priority for them. We are doing outreach for that right now. And at the end of the calendar year, so December 31st, the pilot program will end. We will collect information from the businesses to understand what they were doing before the pilot program and what they're doing after. So these performance measures will allow us to understand if we were really able to make a big difference and if these strategies and techniques that we've used were effective. The 4 performance measures include how many transactions our business is doing, do they have a website, are they marketing more, do they have a lease that actually protects them. So those are the things that we're going to be looking for to determine if we've been successful in this program. Throughout the program, though, the one thing that constantly kept coming up was parking. And this was discussed time and time again. And so this is actually a picture of the parking lot at Middlefield and 2nd, which I hope everyone has had a chance to see as it's gone through its different phases. And the other thing we talked about the businesses, in addition to thinking differently, is how do businesses park? So if a business owner and their employee are parking in front of the business, those are 2 less spaces for their customers to park. And so those are things that we also discuss, right? Where should you park, and how do you make sure that your customers can easily access your business? It's something that all businesses have to go through no matter where you're located, and it's just really important that those conversations are had. So we have the new Middlefield Road parking lot. There's a proposal that during construction we could look at the lot behind the Fair Oaks Health Center to see if there's an opportunity to park vehicles there. And there are other lots that have been identified in the community that may support parking during part of the construction. So parking continues to be an important issue for these businesses, and we hear that, and we're looking at what our alternatives are to satisfy the parking needs. So part 2 is the during construction part. And it's important to remember that all of these strategies will build on top of what we did in part 1. So part 1 focused on communication and education. Part 2 is going to have another communication strategy to it. But part 2 is big on access. How do we make sure that customers, that delivery trucks, that employees can access the business? And so the way we do this is we look at how do we phase construction. You know, you can phase construction in many different ways. You could do, not that we're going to do any of these, but you can do the entire corridor. You can do one side of the road and then the other. You can break it up into different stages. So there's different ways that we can do that. How do we stage it in a way that allows us to minimize impacts to both businesses and the project itself? And that also goes with temporary pedestrian sidewalks to make sure that people can still walk and access the businesses. So we have a series of strategies that we will consider using during construction to make sure that we can minimize these impacts. Here are a couple pictures of how other jurisdictions have done it. This was Burlingame. This is actually in, I want to say actually Tennessee, but so you'll see that they had these temporary access points to the businesses, and those are all things that we need to consider to make sure that people can still shop and support the businesses. The last part is a project liaison. And so this is someone who's going to make sure that they can continue to communicate with the community no matter what day it is, no matter what hour it is. They'll be available for members of the community or businesses if something's going on and something needs to be resolved. This individual or this group of individuals will be bilingual to make sure that they can provide on-the-spot services, and there's a phone number that will accompany the project liaison that will be distributed when we get to that point. So some of the other strategies that have been discussed, they haven't been incorporated into the plan, includes the Middlefield Road Business Development Program, and that's dependent on how the performance measures look for our pilot program. There's a redesigned website There's a marketing strategy for the corridor. So there are various strategies that we're also considering incorporating. I think that the two important takeaways here are, one, that the document's a living document. So I'm going to get feedback from you tonight. I'm going to get feedback from the community, and we're going to make sure that things that need to be incorporated are incorporated. And the other is that we would like to start implementing all this about 6 months prior to construction. So we still have time to revise this document to identify the best strategies and the most efficient and effective strategies, make sure those get incorporated, and be prepared to act on those when the time is appropriate. So this is the contact information. I'm happy to field any emails or phone calls that you might have, as is Victor, but I'm also happy to answer any questions that anyone may have here tonight.
Thanks very much for your presentation. If council members have any questions, please go ahead.
Through the chair. Thank you, Nicholas, for the information. When you say construction, you're talking about the actual road, the redesign. What about the PG&E piece? What's going on with that?
So I think that's something that would be best answered by the department.
And I'm asking because all this time we've been told that that has to happen first. So I don't see that anywhere in your presentation.
If I could, through the chair, I think that we're actually in the process of trying to line that up so it's we can do as much work as we possibly can with that, with the least amount of intrusion for the businesses. So we're trying to coordinate that in a way that it all flows together, so that we would open the trench, we'd put all the utilities under, and try to keep working in that area, in that section, while we have the trench open, and then move on to the next section. So we do it section by section.
Another question, sorry. If I remember correctly, the last PG&E Underground project that started on 8th Avenue up to 5th Avenue going north involved the businesses having special utility boxes at cost. So I'm concerned about those details. 20 years later, I don't know what they're doing, if that's still an issue, but I just want to make sure that we cover all our bases, that there's no challenge except on how to work with the tools and, keep their businesses going.
Through the chair again, absolutely. And this will be the subject matter of a partial subject matter of this coming Monday study session. We'll give you an update on that. We'll have Public Works here to give you an update. So we can get into those. Those are great questions. We can get into those details during the study session.
Yeah, because I would want to see us provide some kind of an assistance if there's a cost.
Absolutely.
If possible.
Beatrice?
How many businesses, again, are participating in this pilot program?
There have been 11 selected to participate, and participation is really based on when the business owner can get to the workshops, and we try to schedule these in a way that allows for a majority to get to them. 11's been selected, and how they've participated is really based on schedule.
How many businesses in total?
I believe it's just north of 80.
What support is being offered for those businesses that are not participating in the pilot program?
Through the chair. So when the county decided to do the pilot program, we did extensive outreach to all businesses in the project area and explained what the pilot program was going to be, the services that we wanted to provide. Right now, our focus is on the 11 businesses to see what type of strategies work and what type of strategies we can take and implement for a group of 80 versus 11. And so right now our focus is on the 11 with an understanding that our goal is to go out and see how do we help all the businesses.
Correct.
And actually to that, one of the things is, our goal is always looking corridor wide and not necessarily at just specific businesses, right? So when the county, one of the things that came up a lot in questions is financial assistance and how is the county going to give businesses money, and that's just something that we can't do as government. We can't be giving money, right? So we want to look at the corridor wide and how do we support all the businesses in the corridor to make sure that all the businesses have an opportunity to grow their client base and to succeed and continue to be such a vital part of this community.
Another question. Is there the opportunity for the businesses to meet as a group of business people so that they can interchange conversations about what is going right, what isn't, exchange ideas among themselves, and also to see each other as possible, kind of allies going forth. This is, I recommend this. This is what worked for me. And so I think that not only them coming to a point for receiving information from the county, but also allowing them to make sure that they come together on their own. Because really, in the end, they are practically, by themselves on Middlefield. So they have to make sure that they're comfortable working with each other and they support each other through this whole ordeal.
Through the chair, I think that's a great question. And as of right now, there's not a forum set up for the businesses to do that, but that is something that we have discussed and that's been discussed with some of the businesses to understand if there's an interest on a corridor-wide level to engage in something like that. So that's something that we are considering.
Okay.
Yeah, through the chair. You said you are focused right now in 11 business, but how about if more business they can include to that group or can add it or not?
So through the chair, so our focus is right now on those 11 businesses to make sure that we're able to go from start to finish through the program with those 11 businesses, and that allows us to really understand how the services are able to help businesses. If we have businesses who come in halfway through or leave early or don't really participate in the whole program, it's really hard to measure the success of the program. So right now the focus is continuing to be on the 11 businesses through this year, and then we'll take a look at what the data is and then figure out how do we provide services to the entire corridor, so all 80 plus businesses.
Great. Thank you.
Just a couple of questions in terms of the timing. So when is the project supposed to start, like break ground?
Great
is
question.
It known yet?
Right now, the estimate is November of 2018. However, that comes with the message from Public Works that there are a lot of moving parts in this, and so there's earlier was mentioned PG&E, and there are other utility providers. So, in order to hit all the timelines, they need to be able to get all of the entities involved on the same page, and so it is a very complex process, and I know that they're working very hard to get that done. Right now, the estimate is November of 18, but I would imagine that they'll be able to better discuss that on Monday.
Okay, and then the second part of the question is how long is it projected to last, this entire project, from beginning to end, more or less, of course?
Yeah, another great question. I would defer to Public Works because they'll be able to really give you the details. In addition to a timeline, they'll be able to tell you why that's the timeline. So I'd probably defer to them.
Okay, great. Any other questions from council
Yes.
members?
You had a slide with some alternative parking locations. Somewhere there. Yeah, that's the one. At one point in the history of all of this, there was discussion around getting Samtrans involved to provide shuttle service. Because you're talking about shuttling from Fifth Avenue all the way down to over here, to the tracks, to the junction area. Is that still feasible? I was going to suggest that you add it to your list
No, I appreciate
as a
it.
possible, some more assistance.
Yeah, and through the chair, I think everything's still being discussed and on the table, and if there's a way to make that efficient and effective, I think that's something that we would definitely want to evaluate. But I will definitely add that to the alternative strategy list.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to make a last comment in regards to this project. So a couple of the business owners from the section from Fifth Avenue to 8th Avenue told me that they remember that when they went through the phase of renovating that section, that a lot of small businesses essentially disappeared because they couldn't get through, the disruption. And I'd just like to remind you that these are very small businesses that many times their margins of profit are extremely low. And so this disruption is definitely going to or could jeopardize, their survival. So as much as the county can plan on, alleviating some of the issues that they may face, that would be greatly appreciated.
Absolutely.
Thank you again for your time.
Thank
you. And are there any questions from the public in this regard? Seems like not. So thank you. And then finally, we will have reports. First, we'll have the supervisor's report. And I see Mr. Slocum is here. Is that right?
Good evening, everybody. I haven't been with you in a while. I apologize. I just would say that just this evening earlier, I was at St. Anthony's for their kitchen remodel grand reopening. If you haven't had a chance to go to St. Anthony's and look at their kitchen and how they're serving hundreds and hundreds of people daily, Monday through Sunday, basically, I would encourage you to go down there and take a look and maybe even volunteer to serve food. It's quite an experience. I just, in the interest of time, wanted to just share two things, actually. One is that the request for proposal for the affordable housing units that we plan to construct behind the Fair Oaks Clinic will be issued in December, this December. So Mr. Callaghy and a whole team of people have been meeting on this, and we're very much interested in fast-tracking this development to get those affordable units constructed. The number slips my mind. Is it 160, Mike?
Yeah, it's right around there.
160 units to be constructed behind the North Fair Oaks, or the Fair Oaks Clinic. And in addition, there probably will be a daycare center for folks that live in the neighborhood and in Redwood City, of course. And there's also a talk about the Sequoia Healthcare District doing some sort of a wellness center within that development. The first floor could be places for community nonprofits or other uses. But the significant thing is, as you know, we've been working on this for, I don't know, three or 4 years. And now it's finally here. The RFP is going to go out in December, and that's great news. It's just a step to deal with the housing crisis here. I think, as is the project that was described to you earlier. But I know that you're very excited about that, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them. The other thing I wanted to mention is that under Mr. Callaghan's leadership, we actually created an office in the county, a new office called the Office of Community Affairs. Yeah, is that it? And its new director is Emma Gonzalez, right here. Emma, stand up. Thank you. You might be wondering, well, what's that office going to do? You know, why are you creating another office in county government? But actually, some of the things that I talked about here tonight, the business plan, the business sustainability plan, and some of this outreach that we all know needs to happen is coming from that office. And so basically it's the idea that North Fair Oaks Forward has expanded to be a county-wide resource. So they have done work in Pescadero, for instance. They're doing work in the north end of the county, and they'll continue to do their North Fair Oaks work, but their purview has expanded. And we also combined the Office of Immigrant Affairs with that new office, and Emma is managing the whole operation. And I know, Council, that she's been back here wildly taking notes on everything that was discussed. So you can reach Emma. She'll give you a card. I don't know. Do you have a card yet? Not yet. Yeah. Well, in any case, it's coming. She'll give you her phone number should you want that. But those are the two pieces of news that I have for you. There's a million and one other things, but in the interest of time, I'll just leave it at that and be happy to answer any questions that you all might have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Slocum. Are there any questions by council members?
No, it's great to hear things are moving. There's all kinds of projects going on. That's great.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, with that, I'll take my chair.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
And I'm wondering if Emma would like to step up to the mic and introduce herself briefly. I met her yesterday at a meeting here, but I think it would be nice if she gets an opportunity to introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Emma Gonzalez, and I am the new working with the Office of Community Affairs under the County Manager's Office. Not new. I am a resident of North Fair Oaks, actually. Have lived here and raised here my entire life, so very much familiar with the corridor. I've worked with the county for over 30 years, and from Daly City to East Palo Alto to Pescadero, Half Moon Bay. So understanding the community needs and understanding what the work that is being done. North Fair Oaks Forward has done an excellent job. Last night I witnessed over 50 people attend a housing department community forum. So they reach out to our community, they work with small businesses, and they've been so successful that we are now branching out to really serve the entire the entire county. And so we're going to continue to work here in North Fair Oaks, many important things that are happening, and we can't wait to see how this is progressing, and we'll continue to provide that service and outreach. If you have any questions, feel free to call me. I've met many of you on the council, and I've worked with you personally and professionally, so I continue to want to, excited about this new job and continue to expand our work. Any questions?
Thank you, Emma. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Next, we'll have the county manager's report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As usual, Supervisor Slocum was being very modest. It was actually his idea on the community affairs. He wanted to bring more resources to this area and throughout the county and bring better coordination. And I just want to note for the taxpayers out there that we created this position at no new net county cost. So we were able to switch things around. We didn't add to the budget, and we were able to come up with this new unit. So we're looking for great things, and Emma is outstanding and already up to speed on all the issues that she's facing down here. I just want to remind everybody, Monday night is the night that the neighborhood response team is meeting with the council. It'll be a great night Wednesday night. Why do I keep thinking Monday night? Sorry, it's Wednesday, but thank you, Victor. Wednesday night. That's right, Monday night is the 30th, so it's the 1st, Wednesday the 1st. At 6:30. So it'll be a great night for the community to come out and hear all that the neighborhood response team is doing. It's I know it's difficult for the council to make the neighborhood response meetings. Certainly, Councilmember Lopez has been there several times and a few others, but it is difficult. So we wanted to bring it to you. It's going to be your opportunity also to give some direction to the neighborhood response team. And this is a collaborative team of all the different departments that work down here in North Fair Oaks together to make this community better for the community. So we want to try to encourage as many people to come out as possible and bring their issues, bring their the problems, the community problems to this neighborhood response team, so that we can address them throughout the years. And we're looking forward to hearing all your comments also. The parking lot at 2nd and Millfield. I just wanted to update you. We saw a great picture up there. It is running behind schedule. And it's probably about 2 months behind schedule, actually. It was supposed to open October 2nd. We're looking for the latter part of November or early December. We will be holding the construction company responsible for that, for the delays. But they have some things back ordered, that some fencing that's back ordered that has not come in, decorative fencing that has not come in. So we'll keep you posted on that. We also had our, and finally we had a great meeting today with the beautification team for Fifth Avenue. We're really looking at, again, a collaborative approach with the community in looking at the entrance to North Fair Oaks and how we beautify that area with landscaping. Tim Vine from Landscape Systems is volunteering his time to help us create a beautiful setting there. I know that the North Fair Oaks Art Group will be playing a large part in that, as we look at that as kind of a blank canvas and how we mold those two disciplines together and just make a beautiful entrance. So we're very much looking forward to that, and we'll be talking more about that in the future. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Kalagi. If there are any questions, comments from
Just the location of the meeting on Wednesday at 6:30.
I think it's right here.
Right here?
It is right here, yes. And we'll be set up so we can all look at each other and converse as a group.
Okay. Any other questions? Beatrice? Yeah. So we'll go into the council member reports. Do council members have anything to report?
Well, I'm actually working on two planning committees. One is for community law night, so that's moving right along. San Mateo County Bar Association is all excited and getting all their pro bono people in line to help with that. And then the second one, and Connie, you may have the date. It's the anniversary reception celebration for the Multicultural Institute. Multicultural Institute has been working in North Fair Oaks for about 20, how many? 11 years. And that is the nonprofit organization that brings together day laborers, and so workers and employers. And they've been doing the work for, it seems like the years went by that quickly. So anyway, you'll be getting more information about that, but they're going to do a special celebration, and it actually will be at San Mateo Credit Union, and I don't know the address, but...
Corporate headquarters,
Mhm.
50 Convention Way in Bay City.
Yeah.
And I need to correct myself. The North Fair Oaks Day Labor Workers Program has been in North Fair Oaks for 11 years.
Mhm.
Multicultural Institute has been
I think 25?
going on 26 years.
Right, because they started in Berkeley, I believe, in the East Bay.
So, and the date of that would be either March 1st or March 8th. We'll
Right.
decide tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
We'll decide the date tomorrow. That it is from starting at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's a wonderful event. It's just great.
So we'll present more information as that becomes more developed. And And I think that is it for me. Yeah.
Great. So there was a meeting yesterday evening in regards of the county that pertained to housing, and there was a lot of people. I would say maybe, I don't know, between 40 and 50 around there. It's hard to tell how many people. But anyway, so county was looking for comments from the community and suggestions in terms of the housing needs in the neighborhood and suggestions. And so there were pretty much all the suggestions that we would expect for our neighborhood, including assistance and rent control, et cetera, et cetera. And so this is with the goal of the county harvesting resources from HUD. Is that correct? So I'm not sure when they will be getting the funding or how much funding they will be getting, but some of this funding will be dedicated towards some of those suggestions or issues that were brought up during the meeting. And the other thing is that I wanted to mention is about Melinda. I have to look at her, Dubrov, her last name. She had a job offer that she couldn't turn down, and she's going to have to move far away from here temporarily, though her house is still going to remain here in North Fair Oaks. But she said that she would like to resign for now because she's not going to be commuting, and so in order for her to give the opportunity to another community member, she thought that the best thing she could do would be to resign from the council. So effective November, that's going to be her last meeting, and then we will be looking for another member to fill in her post.
And I guess you, Victor, you have to call her or something? Yeah, procedure-wise, to get the official resignation. Oh,
Right.
okay, great. I'm going to miss Melinda because she was like, came in for such a short amount of time, but she was sharp.
And she
was sharp.
brought a lot of energy.
Yeah. So, but she has a really good job in Stockton. She couldn't do that commute. So I just wanted to ask a question about our numbers. So we're still missing an alternate youth, and so we're down 2 people, correct?
Right.
Okay.
We will be with Melinda's resignation.
So you have your applications are being taken, or what's the process for that right
You want
now?
to go ahead?
Yeah, I'll be working with Supervisor Slocum's staff to try to find a replacement for Melinda, another adult member, and also a youth member.
Yeah, we're missing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So once we have the application up and updated, distribute it to you all. If you know of anyone that might be interested, and we'll distribute it at the community as well.
Okay, very good.
Great, thank you. If I can get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Great. 2 seconds, that's great. Thank you very much.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everybody.